I just watched XP to Level Three's video about fixing bards, and in that, Jacob outlined some of his complaints, or his criticisms, or his dissatisfactions with the bard class. He also made a follow-up video, which I watched that as well, and I thought, hey, I love bards. I identify with the bard class. Call myself Esper the Bard here on YouTube, so why not make a reaction video talking about my own thoughts regarding it. I couldn't believe his nerve. It's just a bunch of immature, half-baked bullshit. I would expect nothing more than this son of an owlbear. Nah, I'm just joking. That's what YouTube is. YouTube is a place for people to put their thoughts and their ideas and their opinions out there. And I get flack for this all the time on, comments on my own videos. Esper, you're stupid, you're wrong, you're opinionated, you're biased, you hate X thing, and really it's amazing. That's YouTube. If you're going to watch a video and get miffed by someone putting their opinion out there, like, that's the point of having a YouTube channel, is that you express your opinion and people might agree with it or disagree with it. And I think Jacob even mentioned this in his video, or maybe in his response video. A lot of opinions and ideas that YouTubers put out there in their videos, myself included, are testing the waters, testing out ideas. Not everything I put into my YouTube videos is etched in stone, written in blood, my eternal vow. Sometimes I'm just getting these thoughts out of my head, seeing what the reactions are of people, and maybe I'll make some adjustments from there, or my thoughts will develop from there. But anyhow, yeah, whatever. He can put his own content out there. I think he genuinely likes the idea of the Bard class. I mean, the guy plays guitar and acts and uses humor and wit, and I mean, he's quite bardic himself. So, I think what he's doing is wanting the class to... He sees the potential that's in the class and he wants it to be realized. And I can't knock him for that at all. That's actually what I talk about all the time with my reviews of D&D classes and monsters and such, is I see the good, and then I also see the parts that have room for improvement and opportunities to be more. And, 5th edition is an amazing system, so much so that we take a lot of it for granted, and we're so used to it now that what we're left with is we see its shortcomings glaring at us, and we can lose sight of the fact that all these other parts of it function so well, so smoothly. But he said in that original video that he thought bards were underwhelming. I've never gotten that impression from playing the bard class, from reading the different bard subclasses, from seeing bards played in my campaigns, from all the different players that have played one, and from me playing them myself, and from talking to people. I've never heard underwhelming being a word described for the bard. I've heard underwhelming used for like the Beastmaster Ranger, the Champion Fighter, the Berserker Barbarian, the Trickster Cleric. There might be one other one that I'm forgetting in there. I think the Inquisitive Rogue is underwhelming. I think the Necromancer Wizard could be a little bit better. I talk about these things all the time in my reviews. So, no, I don't agree with that. I don't think the Bard class is underwhelming. It might have some specific features that could be better, but overall, I think it's a highly versatile, flexible, flavorful, potent class. Another point that he talked about a lot is that bards don't get enough unique features. He says that there's just not enough things that do specific bard-themed effects, whether it's a class feature or a spell. And actually, I do kind of agree with him there. I also talk about that with other classes too. I don't think bard's the only one, but yeah, it would be cool if the bard had some more unique things that were not just enhancing baseline options and skills, or we're not just getting access to all the different spell lists that already exist for other classes, some bard only spells and bardic abilities, yeah, that'd be great. I think that would be awesome. I would like to see that. He mentions counter charm not being good enough. Everyone knows counter charm's not good enough. I rated it as a D tier feature in my bard ranking. I also think that the capstone bard feature, I've got it here, the superior inspiration at 20th level, is incredibly underwhelming. I would say it's even worse than counter charm. There was a couple others in my bard ranking that I thought were underwhelming. One of the swords bards, blade flourishes, wasn't so good. The other ones are pretty good though. Yeah, there's not a lot about the bard that I could say is disappointing. I guess there's some things that could be a little bit better, but counter charm and the capstone 20th level ability, those are the glaring sore thumbs. He made this point, and a lot of people have refuted it, saying that other classes do certain things better. Other classes can fight in with physical combat better. Other classes can heal better. Other classes can, I don't know, what else can they do better? A paladin can do something better, smite, or the paladin has an aura that's better than counter charm. And yeah, in those isolated instances, those are true. And none of those classes can do everything. You know, a cleric might have the best healing in the game, but it's not as versatile as the bard. I mean, no class is as versatile as the bard. That's what the bard is. It is the versatility class. And so it might not be the very best at a number of things. It is the very best at being versatile. And I would say it is the very best at a couple other things. It's probably the very best at skills and like just all around party support. I don't know, that one might be debatable, but skills, yeah. There's another thing that I've noticed, and Jacob talks about this and he kind of plays around with it in some of his videos, but I've noticed it like in memes and people talking about it online. I think there's an immature concept of what a bard is. I'm not sure why that's happened. It might just be the immaturity of certain players that are out there. But this really generic, stupid idea of the bard just being this hokey minstrel guy who somehow pulls magic out of his ass through singing songs, and he tries to seduce everything. I mean, I guess if you're just wanting to play a goof-off game, you could treat a bard like that, but I mean, you're going to have to ignore, like, you know, every major poet and author that's ever existed, from Shakespeare to Dostoevsky to Hemingway to Rumi and Yeats and Blake, and you're just going to ignore all those people, and you have to ignore all the great painters from Van Gogh to Monet to Frida to Salvador Dali, and you'll have to ignore all the inspiring speakers and motivators out there in the world, Tony Robbins and tons of others, and you know, all the great musicians and singers. You'll have to ignore them too, from Led Zeppelin to Janis Joplin to the Beatles, David Bowie, Michael Jackson, Elvis, Black Sabbath, Metallica, Whitney Houston, Lady Gaga. Like, you'll just have to basically ignore all of the incredible sources of art and inspiration that have enhanced and inspired and made our lives worth living since the dawn of time. You'll also have to ignore the fact that in most mythological and religious stories, the origin of everything has to do with God or gods or spirits or greater entities, like using these words or even songs of power and projecting their voice, tapping into some great inspiration, creative power to bring everything into existence. Tell me, Muse, of that man so ready at need, who wandered far and wide after he had sacked the sacred citadel of Troy, and many were the men whose towns he saw, and whose minds he learnt, yea, and many the woes he suffered in his heart upon the deep, striving to win his own life and the return of his company. Jacob also talked about that bards don't necessarily have to be musicians or minstrels, and I completely agree, and I don't think it's ever been stated that way in any of the D&D books. Again, I think some certain immature or uncultured or just goofy, goof-off type players, they take it that way. But the game itself has never presented it that way, even from the very beginning. The very beginning of the Bard class in D&D, didn't really mention much about being a musician. It was the traditional idea of a bard being a lore keeper, storyteller, somewhere between a trickster and a warrior and a priest type or druidic type. I mean, the bard is a real thing from the real world that has a heritage going back centuries. So yes, of course, music can be part of the bard, but that's just like one piece in a whole array of this general font of inspiration, wandering lore keeper, versatile trickster / leader inspirer type character. I mean, the bard really is the perfect fit for a tabletop role-playing game because the game is all about these things, the stories and the lore and the worlds and wandering around and picking up all these different abilities and pieces of magic and secrets and trinkets and, feeling the inspiration that makes you love the game and get immersed in the game and want to keep coming back session after session. It's sort of like the bard encapsulates the experience of Dungeons and Dragons itself. He talked a lot as well about his bard homebrew content. He did a bard subclass and some additional spells and feats, I believe. They all looked pretty cool. I love making tons of homebrew stuff myself. I think homebrew is where it's at, especially with 5th edition. I can't really comment on the fine details and the nitty-gritty of his content. I'd have to really sit down and take the time and give it like a fine-tooth comb. But what he showed on the screen and that he mentioned, they seemed like cool ideas. So good on him for feeling the inspiration and creating things and passing it along and hopefully inspiring other people. And just some final thoughts here. I really appreciated his follow-up video. I thought that it was mature and very genuine, and that's refreshing to see. I always love seeing genuine content where somebody is actually speaking from their heart. And he said that he really took people's comments into consideration and did some self-reflection and realized that a lot of things that he said in the original video do not represent his actual solid beliefs, but rather they were these ideas that were passing through his head at the moment, and they turned out not to be such well-constructed, sound arguments, and he has refined his ideas and he's adjusting his perspective, and he was very grateful. So is this a level up moment? Has he made it to level 4 now? Yeah, well, I hope so. So if you end up watching this video here, Jacob, good on you for making the follow-up video there. And a lot of the things you said in that, I personally relate with. I've been making D&D videos for a very long time. And that's how it goes when you do YouTube for years. You have peaks and valleys and ups and downs, and you learn and you grow. And you'll eventually, if you keep doing this, you'll evolve or transform into a new phase, and you'll turn a page and be in a new chapter of how you feel about things and your sense of direction and identity. Your orientation can adjust and change, and it can change for the better, and you can feel a sense of progress if you just keep doing what you're doing and being genuine and thoughtful and taking things seriously into consideration, and just generally wanting to improve and feel the inspiration, man. So that's what it's all about. All right, so there's my 2 cents on the matter. The Bard class is awesome. I love it, and I was born a Bard, so that's just the path that I was destined to walk. Could it be improved in some ways? Sure, so could everything. All right, everyone. Well, appreciate that. I've been hard at work on some really big projects. Look out for those in the very near future. And as always, may your adventures be many.